Okay, let's unpack this. You've given us some really compelling source material here, all centered around one specific machine, the 2026 KTM 450 Rally Replica motorcycle.
Yeah,
The article you shared doesn't waste any time, pretty much calls it a desert dominator right off the bat.
that's right. And our mission, well, our goal with this deep dive is to sort of cut through the hype maybe, pull out the really critical details just from this source,
Mm.
and really understand what makes this limited edition bike tick
Mm.
and, why it earned that Desert Dominator name based only on what your article is telling us.
Exactly. We're not bringing in outside info, just walking through this source together, highlighting what jumps out, seeing what insights we can pull out about this very specific corner of the motorcycle world.
Sounds good.
So let's dive in. What is the 2026 KTM 450 Rally Replica? Big picture, according to the article.
Well, the source pins it down immediately, limited edition motorcycle.
Yeah.
And its roots are totally clear. It's born directly from KTM's, massive success in the Dakar Rally.
Right.
Think of it like taking that race-winning factory tech and putting it into the hands of, well, a very select few people.
Ah, okay. So it's not just styled like a rally bike. It's actually got that Dakar DNA properly baked in.
Precisely.
So who is this beast really for then, according to the source's targeting?
Yeah, the article's pretty clear on this. It's aimed squarely at privateers,
Uh,
those riders competing seriously, but without the full factory setup.
right.
And also really serious enthusiasts, people who demand the absolute peak of off-road performance and want that direct link to the rally-winning stuff. It's definitely not positioned as just a casual weekend bike.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, if you're tackling Dakar or something similar, you need the right tool. Okay, let's get to the heart of it, the engine. The article specifies a 450cc single-cylinder, four-stroke. What power figures does it give us?
The numbers are pretty impressive for a 450 single. It quotes 63 horsepower at 9,500 RPM and 52 newton meters of torque, which is about 38 pound-feet, peaking at 7,000 RPM.
Okay, 63 horsepower. So the numbers are definitely there. How does the article describe what that actually feels like? Out on the trail, especially in the extreme terrain this thing's built for.
Explosive power is
Yeah.
the phrase that really jumps out from the source. It's designed for, well, conquering dunes, deserts, rocky sections,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Right.
The article highlights the instant acceleration, but also, interestingly, it says the power delivery is smooth. That's a pretty important balance, isn't it?
Yeah, smooth but explosive sounds like it needs a skilled hand then.
Definitely seems that way.
The source also mentions the engine's lightweight design. How
Right.
does that play into the whole package?
Well, a lighter engine means better agility, right?
Right.
Which is vital for quick changes in direction and technical stuff.
Yeah.
The article also points to the electronic fuel injection, the EFI,
Mhm.
as being key. And make sure you get consistent performance and good fuel efficiency. That's absolutely critical when you're covering huge distances in rallies.
Yeah, consistency is everything out there. Now, power's one thing, but handling the train, soaking up the abuse, that's suspension and chassis. The article seems to really focus here.
Oh yeah, this is where that Dakar pedigree really shines through, according to the source. It talks about advanced WP XACT Pro suspension, front and rear. This isn't your standard off-the-shelf stuff.
WPX HET Pro, okay. And the article highlights specific capabilities, doesn't it?
It does. It's fully adjustable, naturally, adjustable damping. But the figure that really stands out is the travel. A massive 300 millimeter front and rear.
Wow, 300 mils.
Yeah. The article stresses that this huge amount of travel is just essential for soaking up the really big hits, handling nasty terrain like jumps, big rocks, deep sand dunes, all at speed without getting unsettled. And you can fine-tune preload and rebound too, of course.
And what about ground clearance? That seems like it would be non-negotiable for this kind of bike.
Totally. The source listed at an impressive 370 millimeter, that's 14.6 inches.
That's a lot.
It is. And the article makes clear you need that kind of clearance for getting over serious obstacles, boulders, roots, deep ruts, without, smashing the underside or getting stuck.
Makes sense. And the frame itself. The source says it's lightweight.
Yeah, the whole bike comes in around 115 kilograms, which is what, about 253 pounds? Pretty light. And the frame material is chromoly steel.
Okay, so chromoly steel, keeping the weight down. What are the benefits of that low weight, according to the article? How does it feel?
Well, the lightweight chassis translates directly into agility and quick responsive handling. The article points out that's key for tight corners, technical sections. But here's the interesting bit. Despite being so light, the source says it's still got excellent stability at high speeds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it puts that down to balanced weight distribution working together with that high-end suspension. So you get agility for the tricky bits, but it doesn't feel nervous when you open it up.
Got it. Nimble but stable. Okay. So we've got the power, the structure to handle the rough stuff. What about the tech and design elements that make it race ready? The article mentions electronics, transmission.
Right. It's got a 6-speed manual transmission, and the article specifically calls out the use of Pankel racing gears.
Pankel. Okay.
Yeah, that's a detail the source emphasizes for smooth shifting, but also crucially, durability under the kind of extreme stress you see in competition. There are also engine mapping options, so the rider can tweak the power delivery for different conditions or styles.
Now, the article points out something pretty notable that's missing from the electronics package. No ABS, no traction control. That feels like a really significant choice. Why? What does the source say?
Yeah, it's definitely deliberate. The source basically frames it as providing a raw, race-ready experience. It's aimed at pros and really experienced riders who want total control, no electronic nannies getting in the way in complex, unpredictable off-road situations.
Right.
It's a very clear signal about who this bike is really built for.
Yeah, that definitely fits the Dakar DNA theme. What about the actual physical design? It certainly looks the part.
Oh, absolutely. The article calls it bold, rally-inspired. It's got that big aerodynamic fairing. And the source says that fairing isn't just for show. It actually reduces drag, improves airflow, helps with speed and efficiency in those wide-open sections. The ergonomics are also tailored for long hauls, 960mm seat height, wide bars, mid-mount pegs. The goal, the article explains, is comfort and control over long distances, fighting fatigue.
And speaking of long distances, that fuel tank, that's a standout feature, isn't it? Huge capacity.
It really is. The article gives the number, a big 30-liter tank that's 7.9 gallons.
Wow.
And the reason is simple and vital for rally racing. Range, just pure range for those long endurance stages and big adventures, minimizing stops for fuel. That can make or break a race, or just make an adventure feasible in remote places.
Okay, so we're getting a picture of a bike built for a very, very specific, demanding job. Now, the article includes a comparison table, puts it up against rivals like the Husqvarna FR450 Rally, the Honda CRF450 Rally, and the Yamaha Tenere 700 Rally Edition. How does the KTM stack up based only on the data presented in that table?
Okay, looking just at the table from the source, let's break down performance first. Among the single-cylinder bikes there, the KTM, the Husqvarna FR450 Rally, they're tied. Highest power, 63 horsepower. Highest torque, 52 newton meters.
Okay, tied in the top for single.
Yeah. The Honda CRF450 Rally, according to this table, has quite a bit less power, 46 horsepower, and less torque, 43 newton meters.
Right.
Then you've got the Yamaha Tenere 700, different beast altogether. It's a parallel twin, 689 cc. So the table shows higher torque, 65 newton meters, but the power figure isn't directly compared in the same way, and the source implies, a totally different delivery character because of that engine type.
Makes sense. And that key KTM strength we talked about, weight and handling, how does that look in the table?
Well, the sources table lists the KTM as the lightest right there, around 115 kilograms. The Husqvarna is super close, 170 kilograms. The Honda's heavier, 125 kilograms. And the Yamaha, well, it's way heavier at 205 kilograms, which really shows its different focus, more adventure touring maybe.
Yeah.
That low weight for the KTM and Husky is clearly positioned as a big plus for agility in the source's analysis.
And ground clearance and fuel range, those seem like KTM strengths too.
Yep, the table backs that up. KTM is tied with the Husqvarna, again, highest ground clearance, 370 millimeters.
Okay.
The Honda's noticeably lower at 310 millimeters, and the Yamaha is quite a bit lower still at 240 millimeter. And for fuel capacity, same story. KTM and Husqvarna lead with those big 30-liter tanks.
Okay.
The Honda's listed at 18 liters, Yamaha at 16. A much shorter leash between fuel stops, according to this data.
And that deliberate choice to skip the ABS, how does that play out in the comparison?
Yeah, the table lists ABS as not standard for both the KTM and the Husqvarna. But interestingly, both the Honda CRF 450 Rally and the Yamaha Tenere 700 Rally Edition do have ABS listed as standard equipment.
Ah, okay. So clear split there.
A very clear split highlighted right in the source's data.
Finally, let's talk money. The price. Where does the KTM sit compared to these others in the article?
Right. The source estimates the KTM at $25,999. The Husqvarna is just a smidge higher at $26,499.
Okay, premium territory.
Definitely. They're positioned way above the Honda, which is listed at $18,999, and the Yamaha, the most affordable here, at $15,999.
Wow, big difference.
Yeah, the analysis in the article basically makes it clear. The KTM and Husky are in this premium race-focused bracket, reflecting those high-end parts, limited production, compared to the more, let's say, accessible price points of the Honda and Yamaha.
Okay, so if we pull all that comparison data together, what really jumps out is just how, well, uncompromising the KTM is presented here. It's
Yeah.
top tier on power for the singles listed, it's the lightest, highest ground clearance, biggest fuel tank, and it explicitly ditches features like ABS that you find on the cheaper bikes. It seems positioned right at the extreme end of the spectrum.
Precisely. The source's comparison really drives that home. KTM, based on this article, is prioritizing absolute race capability and endurance above everything else, things like maybe broader appeal or standard road safety tech.
Which leads us nicely into summing up the key advantages the source lists and
Mhm.
really nailing down that target rider. What does the article say are the main selling points?
Well, the source lists quite a few key advantages.
Yeah.
That explosive engine power, the race-ready suspension giving, incredible control, the super lightweight chassis for maximum agility,
Mm-hmm.
those advanced electronics bits like the panel gears and mapping options, the rally-inspired design that's both functional and looks the part, and then there's the exclusivity, the prestige factor, being part of an elite group owning a limited bike with that direct Dakar connection.
And who is the article's final word on who this bike is really for?
It just doubles down on the focus. Serious off-road enthusiasts, people doing endurance racing, adventurers who absolutely demand peak performance, usability in the most extreme conditions, and yeah, that exclusivity factor too.
The article also had that FAQ section, which is handy. It seems to hit some common questions. For instance, the big one. Can beginners ride this thing?
Yeah, the FAQ in the source does address that. It says technically beginners can ride it, but it explicitly notes that doing it well and safely needs proper training.
Right.
And it highlights again that lack of ABS and traction control, saying it makes the bike way less forgiving than something with electronic aids, especially when things get tricky.
Yeah.
It's just not a beginner-friendly design philosophy.
Yeah, that ties right back to that raw, race-ready idea. Let's rapid fire a couple more from that FAQ. What does the source say makes it specifically special?
According to the FAQ, it's special because it brings genuine Dakar-winning factory technology, specifically calling out the engine, suspension, and chassis right into the hands of private riders, giving them the same kind of tools that champions use.
Power output confirmation again?
Yep, FAQ restates it. 63 HP at 9,500 RPM, 52 nanometers of torque at 7,000 RPM. Consistent message there.
Street legal, yes or no?
FAQ gives a direct no. Confirms it's not built for the road, lacks the required gear like ABS, TC, lights, etc. Purely off-road and rally-focused.
How does it compare to the Husqvarna FR450 Rally, its close cousin?
The FAQ notes they share very, very similar engine and performance specs. Basically says the key difference is mostly down to aesthetics and ergonomics. They perform almost identically according to the source, but they'll feel a bit different, look different.
Gotcha. Fuel tank capacity one last time.
Confirmed again in the FAQ. 30 liters or 7.9 gallons.
Yeah.
They really emphasize that range for endurance stuff.
And the big one from the FAQ, why so expensive and what is the estimated price again?
Right. The FAQ justifies that high cost by pointing to a few things. It's a limited production run. It uses really top-tier race-proven parts like those panel gears and the WP XACT Pro suspension, and the fact that you're essentially buying access to genuine Dakar-winning tech. The article suggests that for the serious enthusiast who needs that level of performance and pedigree, these factors make the price justifiable. And that price is estimated again at $25,999.
All right, that gives us a really thorough picture of the 2026 KTM 450 Rally Replica, looking purely through the lens of the source material you brought in. We've covered the core specs, the very deliberate race-focused features, how it stacks up against rivals in the data presented, and what the article sees as making it a truly unique high-performance machine.
Yeah, the overwhelming takeaway from this article is KTM's singular focus, isn't it? This bike isn't trying to be a do-it-all adventure bike or some easy entry point. It's presented as a dedicated weapon, taking real Dakar tech and packaging it purely for extreme off-road and rally competition.
Right.
And that uncompromising approach dictates absolutely everything about it: the powerful engine, the trick suspension, the deliberate lack of aids like ABS, and yeah, as that comparison made clear, the premium price tag that comes with it.
It's a fascinating deep dive into a machine built right for the sharp end of a really demanding sport. And that comparison data, it really highlights the trade-offs you make when you design something this specialized. So based only on the points raised in your source material, here's something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. Given that huge jump in price and the differences in features like ABS and fuel capacity, when you look at the KTM and Husky versus the Honda and Yamaha in the article, What are the fundamental priorities a rider absolutely must have for this KTM 450 Rally Replica to actually be the right choice for them? Does its desert dominator status, as described here, mean it's just total overkill for anything less than actual competitive rallying? Or does that sheer capability offer a different kind of value, maybe even for a very committed private adventurer?
It really makes you weigh that ultimate performance at all costs against things like versatility, maybe ease of use, and certainly cost effectiveness.
Exactly. A lot to think about there. Well, thank you for sharing this source material with us. It made for a really interesting deep dive.